are rocking and rolling here on In My Own Words, the podcast, Touchdown Alabama. Magazine's own Stephen M. Smith. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, before the break, Mark Passwaters, good friend of mine from AggieYale.com, part of the Rivals Network, joining us, giving us a little bit of behind the enemy lines as Alabama takes on Texas A&M. This weekend, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, CBS, having the kickoff live from Bryant-Denny Stadium. Huge game for Jimbo. Jimbo Fisher traveling to Tuscaloosa to take on the old boss, Nick Saban. We bring him in right now. Mark Passwaters. Mark, what's going on?
How you doing, Stephen?
Doing well, man. Huge week here for both programs. For Texas A&M, the fan base down there at College Station, Cal Field, they believe that with Jimbo, the physicality is finally starting to hit, starting to become a big factor. I remember when I had you on over the summer, you kind of talked about how with Kevin Sumlin, there was not the talk of championships. It was kind of the more finesse deal. With Jimbo Fisher, he's brought a sense of physicality. He's brought a sense of pride because he knows how difficult, he knows how tough, he knows how physical, he knows how important the Southeastern Conference is because he was once in the Southeastern Conference as an offensive coordinator at LSU under Nick Saban. But when you talk about just starting off the vibe from Aggie Nation in this week, what's been the vibe on campus? What's been the vibe in the practices? How confident is Jimbo? How confident is this team? More importantly, how confident are the fans this week?
The fans are kind of apprehensive. They really want to see what's going to happen here because you look at it, you know, they played extremely well against Clemson. They should have won that football game. The officiating is decent. They do win that football game. But this is an entirely different animal. You're going on the road. This is the first road game for this team. Obviously, Alabama is playing tremendous football. They want to see if the Aggies have really shaken that concern that they had with Kevin Sumlin, where they were really soft. You know, they want to see if they can go out there and they can take Alabama's best punch and come back and still compete. They did that against Clemson. They got down 21-3 and came back. But being on the road at Bryant-Denny, having 100,000 people in your ear, you know, obviously they're playing a team that knows how to win, and the Aggies in turn are trying to figure out how to win. So it's basically kind of a, well, let's see what happens here kind of deal.
You bring up the Clemson game here, and we are joined live by Mark Passwaters, who covers Texas A&M for AggieYale.com, part of the Rivals Network, or In My Own Words. Kellen Mond had a big game against Clemson. 430 passing yards. I believe he was 23 of 40 passing, 3 touchdowns. If you would have told me 2 weeks ago, a week ago, before the season started, that Kellen Mond would have 430 passing yards against Clemson and that defense full of first-round picks, I would have called you crazy. He did it. Looked very calm, cool, collected in the pocket, was able to escape a few times, extend some plays with his feet. I remember last year when the Crimson Tide went to Cal Field, he struggled at first, but as the game went on, got some confidence, hit Christian Kirk on a touchdown pass, made the game interesting. Final score was 27-19 in favor of Alabama, but Kellen Mond was 19 for 29 passing that game, 237 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Where have you seen Mond grow the most, and what could you possibly see from him in this game? Because though he's facing a dynamic front with Buggs, Raekwon Davis, Quinnen Williams, Mack Wilson, Dylan Moses, and of course the outside linebacking tandem of Christian Miller and Anthony Jennings. But what has impressed you with the growth of Mond, what Jimbo has done with Kellen? What could he do in this game? How could he create in this game?
Well, it's interesting because Fisher has basically remade Mond. He is a much, much better passer than he was. And I think that's probably where you'll see the difference. I mean, last year when he played Alabama, a lot of the things that he did started off when he started running. This year, he's much more to find open receivers as opposed to just take off and run. And that was something you saw against Clemson. They would either roll the pocket or he'd move up when pressure came, and he was able to get the ball down the field. I think that's going to be the big thing, is people are going to realize that he's become a much more polished passer. He's a much smarter quarterback. And I think that a lot of that credit goes to him because he's become a more disciplined guy, but he's taken the instruction that Fisher's given him. And let's face it, Jimbo is known for being very, very tough on his quarterbacks, much like Saban is with his players. You know, he is very, very tough on Mond. He's very, very tough on Nick Starkel. But those guys have responded. They've improved significantly. But Mond is just on another level now. I mean, he has proven himself to be, you know, at least in an initial sampling size, one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC.
You look at the numbers of Kellen Mond this season, as my man Mark Passwaters talking about him. Mond, 56 of 89 passing, that's 62.9%. The young man, 824 passing yards, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions for Kellen Mond. Travion Williams, to me, at running back, Mark, is a very interesting story. 2 years ago, this was a 1,000-yard back in 2016. I mean, he was a guy that had 1,057 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now this year, leading the SEC, 59 carries, nearly 400 yards at 399, and 4 scores. He's not really a tall guy, but he's compact in his frame. And if you don't fit your gap as a linebacker, you're going to lose him because he has that breakaway speed in the open field. When you look at Texas A&M's offensive line, what may be the blocking scheme to get Travion Williams into the open field? Because that's the big deal. You got to get Williams in the open field.
You got to get him going. You know, the question is, can they? Because they did extremely well against Northwestern State. They did well against ULM. They struggled against Clemson, against a quality defensive line. They're just going to have to sit there and go after it and drive block. They've done that well at times. The pass blocking's my bigger concern, frankly. But I think that they can, if they get down and they get in the three-point stance and fire off, something that people have not seen from the Sumlin years, that they can have a little bit of success. But in order to get what you're talking about, get the bad fits and things of that sort, I think they're going to have to use some misdirection. I think they're going to probably use some jet sweeps, some reverses, things of that sort. I think Courtney Davis could be very important in that. But there are going to be times when Jimbo's just going to line up with Colin Gillespie at fullback. He's going to have 2 tight ends in there with Jay Sternberger and Trevor Wood, and they're going to come straight at him.
A&M looking to get a run game started this weekend against the Tide. I'm live here with Mark Passwaters, who covers the Aggies for AggieYale.com, part of the Rivals Network. You guys check him out. Mark, one of the other things we mentioned in the summer was Jamon Osborne, number 2 at wide receiver. You coined him as a bigger version of Christian Kirk. Osborne, 6'2", 220 pounds. This is a physical freak on a team of physical freaks. Kendrick Rogers is 6'3", at number 13. Cameron Buckley is 6'2", number 14. But at the Alabama practice on Wednesday, I saw a lot of number 2 scout team jerseys. Nick Saban wants none of Jamon Osborne running free in that secondary. A lot of number 2 scout team jerseys. Osborne this year averaging 15.5 yards per catch, 13 receptions, 201 yards. Last year as a freshman, big year, 571 yards and 3 touchdowns on 50 catches. What makes Osborne so special? Because we know as a kick returner and as a receiver, Christian Kirk had a gear. He could just go. But what makes Jamon Osborne, what separates him from Christian Kirk and what separates him from Buckley and Kendrick Rogers in your mind?
Well, he's not quite as, well, he's definitely not as shifty as Kirk. I mean, there are very few guys that have been. He's about as fast. He's much bigger. He's a very physical guy. And one thing that you'll notice this week is he blocks. He likes to get down there. You talk about a physical guy. He likes to get involved in the running game and go and hit somebody. I think that's the big thing is he's got speed. He's got size. He'll jump. But, you know, he's very, very physical. He'll sit there and he'll take the best shot from a corner and he'll bounce off and keep going. You take a look at it. He does not have a touchdown catch yet. That the distribution has gone to other guys in that respect. But a lot of his receptions have been for first downs. When Mond needs a big play, when Mond needs to keep the sticks moving, he's looking for Osmond or he's looking for Jay Sternberg.
A lot of number 2 jerseys. Nick Saban wants no parts of Osmond running free in that secondary because he knows how talented the young man is here. Marcus, we flip this over to defense and kind of wrapping this thing down. Both teams have strong defensive lines. I've mentioned Alabama's with Isaiah Buggs, Raekwon Davis, Quentin Williams, but Texas A&M, when you look at Kingsley Keke, who's been an absolute stud, Dalen Mack, who was so highly touted coming out of high school, he's been up, he's been down. Ataria Alaka, your inside linebacker, your force right there. And Landis Durham, the guy that's going to try to put Tua Tagovailoa on the ground as much as possible. When you look at Mike Elko, defensive coordinator for just a moment here, what is going to be the strategy to get to Tua? Because offensive line for Alabama has been okay. They did a better job protecting Tagovailoa last week against Ole Miss, but against Louisville, at times against Arkansas State, there was pressure there. What will be the scheme from Elko to get to Tua? Will we see Landis Durham off the edge? Will we see Kingsley Keke blow something up? Will we see Alaka get back there? What will be the scheme to provide some friction for a sophomore quarterback that hasn't had much friction yet?
Well, I think that they're going to bring it from a lot of different angles because they have to. A&M has to apply pressure on Tua. Otherwise, the secondary is just going to get annihilated because it's been terrible today. Durham obviously is the guy that everybody accounts for, and you mentioned him first and foremost, and that's been the thing for A&M because everybody thinks of him first and foremost. He's been double-teamed almost exclusively so far this year. He still leads the team in tackles for loss. He's 4th in tackles total, and he's one of the 5 guys with a sack. But I think that in order to get Tua, you got to get into his head. And that's going to require a bunch of different things. We're going to see Alaka. One guy you didn't mention, and I'd be curious to see if there were any 25 jerseys running around in practice yesterday, because Terrell Dodson, one of the other linebackers.
There were a bunch of 25s.
I figured there would be.
A bunch of 25s.
Yeah, that guy is all over the place. He is a monster. Keke is an interesting case because, people remember him as a big defensive tackle the last couple of years. He's down to 285. They're using him at defensive end, and he's done a very nice job. He is probably going to be out there more on running downs because they're going to try to, beat the edge, take that away, and either let, keep the Harrises in between the tackles because that's what they want to be. Because Dalen Mack has had a fantastic year so far. You look at his numbers, there's only 4 tackles, but he has pushed so many double teams into the backfield. It's been thoroughly impressive. And the guy next to him, Justin Matabuike, was a 4-star a couple of years ago. This kid is a monster. He is a freak. He introduced himself to Kyle Bryant from Clemson in a hurry a couple of weeks ago. And if you don't account for the guys in the middle, they're going to push you because that's what Elko wants to do. He wants to get straight up the field with his interior linemen. And that's one thing that they have done is that they have tried to overload the interior with Alaka, with Dodson, and then with Mack and Matabuike. Bring them all at the same time. Sometimes they'll pull Keke out. They'll bring in Tyree Johnson, who's another smaller guy, but he's faster. I think you might even see Jeremiah Martin, who is a true freshman that they got from California. He's a defensive end. I think they may stand him up even outside of Durham with Tyree Johnson out there and bring all 3 of them. And then they could use Deshaun Capers-Smith, who's been playing nickel. And I wouldn't be surprised if they blitz Derek Tucker and Donovan Wilson at times from safety. They're just going to have to throw a lot of things at Tua, try to confuse him, try to get him either to hold on to the ball longer than he wants to, or just basically confuse him with a coverage and see if he'll make a mistake.
We're live here with Mark Passwaters, who covers Texas A&M for AggieYale.com. If this game is close, in the second half, because that's obviously what Jimbo Fisher wants to have happen. You don't want to have Alabama come out there, establish rhythm, and get on you early. If this game's close in the second half, what could we see from A&M offensively in terms of mixing things up, especially if this thing is close in the second half?
Well, if it's close in the second half, it's because A&M has handled time of possession, which means they've run the football. I think that one thing that they're probably going to do is they're going to run Mond some. They ran a lot of RPO last week against ULM, and I don't think that was a coincidence. I think that was to give Tosh and Saban something to look at. But I think there's going to be times when they're going to try to roll him out looking like it's an RPO, and he's going to pull up and throw. I think that's a distinct possibility. But I think in order to make sure that he has time, you're going to see a lot of exotic looks from A&M, even on offense. 2 tight ends, 3 wide receivers, no running back. That's something that you may see. You may see max protect, where they just run 2 guys in a route, where it's just Courtney Davis and Osborne, or Kendrick Rogers and Osborne, or Sternberger and one of those other guys. They'll mix it up, but they're going to take their shots down the field. That's where Davis comes in a big way, because he's a burner. If they can get the ball to him down the field, they're going to do it. But if this game is close, it's because A&M is controlling the line of scrimmage. Otherwise, if they get one-dimensional, you know how it is. Nobody's going to be able to effectively handle Alabama in that way. You saw that with Ole Miss last week. As soon as they eliminated the running game in the second possession, TAMU was toast. A&M is not Ole Miss. They're significantly better than Ole Miss. But, nobody's going to be able to afford to get one-dimensional against the Tide.
Alabama handling Ole Miss 62-7 on last week in Oxford, but this is a completely different animal. This is a chance for Jimbo Fisher to come down for Tuscaloosa, showing his old boss, hey Saban, I learned something from you, and I'm going to use that to beat you here in Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. I am joined here live by Mark Passwaters, who covers the Aggies for AggieYale.com, Texas A&M University for AggieYale.com, part of the Rivals Network. Mark, it's been a pleasure. It's been a joy having you on. Do you have a score prediction in mind? Are you saving that for an article? What you got?
A&M covers. This is going to be closer than people think. I don't think they're going to win, but I think the people are going to be, surprised at how far A&M has come in a short period of time, and the nation's going to get introduced to Kellen Mond.
There you have it, folks. Not going to give you a number, but says the Aggies will cover the spread, and look out for a pretty nice performance there from quarterback Kellen Mond. As always, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch the podcast on YouTube, Touchdown Alabama Magazine YouTube. Subscribe to that podcast. Subscribe to the site, as we're right now at over 2,200 subscribers. That's thanks to you, the fans. Continue to help us grow and build that out there. Also, TDAlabamaMag.com. Check out that site. Get you a subscription today, $5.95 a month. But it's all the Bama you want, all the Bama you crave, and none of the stuff you don't need. So check out that subscription, TDAlabamaMag.com. For all of us here at The Brand, I'm yours truly, Stephen M. Smith. Special thanks again to my man, Mark Passwaters, for joining me on today. For all of us here, enjoy the week, enjoy the game, and until next time, folks, so long, everybody. This has been, in my own words, taking you behind enemy lines.